Welcome back to the Real News with Lucretia Hughes and Dave. Do not forget this Saturday, just 2 days away, we have the Faith Over Fear, celebrating our veterans and first responders right here on our side yard. Like I said, it starts between 12 and 1, so it's 12 and 1 until. We have Jerome Davison, we got Joe Viscani, we have also Danny Triplett, we have Jaquan Stembridge come in, we got Luke Basio, so many more. So y'all make sure it's free. Like I said, the proceeds go to the Walton County Sheriff Department just to say thank you for what they do in my community. So if you're not gonna be able to come, I accept donations. Them hot dogs wasn't 16 cents, and I didn't save 16 cents. So Joe Biden don't have a clue what the hell he's talking about, okay? Okay, so y'all make sure y'all get over there and support us this coming weekend. And if you see the flyer, please share it. So Dave, our next one, like I said, if you are gonna step out there, you step out there huge. Our next person, her name is Kimberly Lowe, and she's out of Virginia. She's running for Senate. She's running for Senate. She said, I'm gonna take Mitch McConnell on. I know Mitch McConnell is from Kentucky, but still. Go ahead, Dave. Oh, that was sweet. What, that you were gonna play that song for her? No. Who you begging? That was for me. You need to wait on that one.
Play Country Roads.
You want to play Country Roads? Hey, Kimberly.
Take me home. Am I on?
Yes.
Oh, good. Hey, so actually, I ran for U.S. Senate, and I'm too old to sleep my way to the top, and I'm too honest for a backroom deal. So we just went global.
Wait a minute. See, people always think just because you lose or you don't win that position, how do you know God had you for that position? Most people is more powerful on the outside, because once you sign a contract and take that oath of office, they muted you. You'll be like another Marjorie Taylor Greene that would sit you down from all committees, or you would be like a North Carolina of, Madison Cawthorn, who was in the wheelchair and they completely railroad. Or you could be a Carrie Lake, who they could try to completely destroy her life.
Well, the reality is that there's a lot of money to destroy honest candidates, and it's extremely hard to get through. And I think God had bigger plans for me. Eventually, I'll run for a bigger office again. But what's really exciting is that I have been recommended to be appointed as a US Special Envoy to Europe. So in our quick 30 minutes, I'm going to give you a whole tour of European politics, which a lot of Americans don't know what's happening in the world, but you should know that it's really the seat of the globalist, and it's the seat of the European Commission, and it's these people that are fueling the wars all around the world, and I am right there in the hot seat of it all, trying to bring an end to it, and I've had a lot of successes so far. So in our short amount of time, I want to explain what an envoy would do, particularly for the national security of the United States, and I want to touch on Russia, where I was just at in March. Not many Americans going to Russia right now. The country of Georgia, not the states. Afghanistan, which I'm working on, issues with Afghanistan, and a World Peace Summit. Normally, I talk about veterans issues as well. I'm going to touch on that if there's any time at all. I'm really passionate about veterans issues. Thank goodness President Trump is back in. So when I ran for U.S. Senate, Lucretia, I started going to European Parliament. I started traveling around the world, meeting with world leaders to discuss ideas, exchange ideas. And they said, Kimberly, during the first Trump administration, no one from America came to speak to us, and we really need that, even if it's about cheese. And then they contacted me last year, and they said, Kimberly, President Trump is losing conservative support in European Parliament over tariffs, and they are all in a panic, and we need a place for some type of dialogue, and we need more communication with the new Trump administration. So they said, Kimberly, we really want you to be an envoy. An envoy is lower than an ambassador, but allows me to do more complex multilateral issues It's a very flexible position. It would allow me to really be anywhere and everywhere. It's less confined than an ambassadorship, for example. And I'm kind of like a low person on the totem pole who would just be getting a lot of work done, and it doesn't step on the toes of the ambassador.
Okay.
So what this would do is it would provide a strong line of support for President Trump in Europe because they are our allies and we do not need to continue to lose conservative support. Further, what it would allow me to do is bring members of Congress over to European Parliament for more dialogue. And the first delegation that I'm taking over will mostly concentrate on international trade. So I've reached out to those members of Congress on the House and Ways and Means Committee in order to take a delegation over this year. And then we'll have a delegation from Europe coming over as well. One of the other issues for Europe are family issues. The family is being destroyed globally. We've got low birth rates. This is another thing that's of interest to them. So we would improve dialogue between the United States and between parliaments. The other thing I'm doing with it is called a US EU think tank, and I already started that. I've been gone most of the year traveling around Europe, meeting with people.
You said
Sadly,
it's
what I've learned is...
You said it was a US, what is...
Yeah, so a United States European Union think tank.
Okay.
Or really a Europe think tank. And yes, we have a lot of think tanks, but we haven't really looked at it from a different perspective of what are we going to do about the European Commission? We have an unelected body making decisions for all of Europe. Europe is on the edge of an economic collapse. The only way for Europe to survive this economic collapse is if they go to war with Russia. So when I was in Europe and when I was at European Parliament last month, the anti-American sentiment was extremely high. All they want is war with Russia. And they want that war because it's going to fund the military-industrial complex. And right now, that is Europe's only Hail Mary. Europe has brought on its own destruction. I think Europe is not only on the edge. Am I totally frozen?
No, I see you.
Good, we're back. I was frozen for a minute. Europe, it's really disturbing. They've lost their humanity towards others. They are very war hungry. It's not necessarily all members of parliament, but there's a majority of members of parliament that are so anti-American right now, very pro-Ukraine without thinking black and white, without knowing all the facts. So Europe is on the edge of this economic collapse. They're on the edge of civil war, and they're on the verge of Russia. That's why it's really important in order to open up a line of communication with the Trump administration in order to deal with this. I think that the European Commission is a huge threat, having this unelected body. These are the globalists making decisions.
Is that a part of the World Economic Forum that has taken over taken over the European Union and swallowed that whole? And is that the unelected bureaucrats that you're talking about?
So in Europe, you have a European Parliament and you have members elected from the European Union countries. But on top of that, you have an unelected body, which is really put in by globalists with globalist agendas, which are really horrible agendas to really destroy humanity. So that's called the European Commission.
Okay.
And most Americans wouldn't understand the politics unless you really go there and see how all of this works. We have devised an idea to counter the World Economic Forum and also devised an idea in order to break down the European Commission, because the European Commission truly is dangerous. Europe has a problem with democracy. I mean, we know, we understand that the word democracy is not really a good thing.
No.
But they have used that word for, decades now to try to normalize the word democracy. But the reality is, in France, they recently arrested Marine Le Pen, who was on her way to being a conservative president. They had it such that they would have held her long enough that she would not have been able to run, and she would have not been allowed to run for 5 years. You have Erdogan in Turkey, who locked up his opponent. You have the European Union trying to overturn... Am I frozen? Or do you hear me? I'm good. My little screen says I'm good. Just you're frozen.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I can hear you.
That song, Country Roads. I'm in the country on a farm. I just got back from Washington, D.C. in time to get on here. Um, what was I talking about, Lucretia? I lost
France
it.
with the Le Pen, and
Oh, yeah,
her
thank
not
you.
wanting to have, she couldn't run for 5 years, which I think is crap. You got
Yeah,
Turkey that just imprisoned their opponent, and then you was going on to the next one.
thank you. So they're trying to overturn conservative elections in places like Romania and places like the country of Georgia, which is not even in the European Union. They are trying to do this.
Oh
So
wow.
the issue comes that the USAID money has been funneling to the border countries next to Russia in order to fuel protest and to fund wars. And they spend a lot of money to change the mindset of people. One of the number one fixes to this is that the United States needs to start funding conservative media in Europe. There's no conservative media. I'll give you an example. There's a media that's called European Conservatives, and
Hmm.
I met with one of their individuals when I was in Brussels, and they were willing to do an interview, had a long talk then. I had an interview set up for Budapest, and I was in Russia where Facebook is banned. Social media is banned, but you can get on a VPN and it's fine. You see that the Russian Foreign Ministry is also on Facebook, not a big deal. I've traveled around the world. I go to Hungary, which is supposed to be our conservative ally. And do you know someone in the government shut down my social media the entire time I was in the country
Oh
and they
wow.
canceled my interview? So I told the European conservative that clearly they are controlled by globalists, they are spineless, and they are part of the problem. And so now I know from personal experience
Hmm.
that there is no conservative media, and conservatives are being run down. I mean, Europe is just absolutely horrible right now.
Are you scared
Um,
of going over there and being able to express yourself freely? Because in some parts of the European Union, they are arresting people and locking them up for what they put on social media and what they say out loud.
Free speech is really horrible, particularly in England, which is not part of the EU. They have been breaking down doors in England of people when they post something on social media. It's absolutely horrible. And then in countries like Georgia, there's been so let me back it up.
Mm.
Georgia is a country, it's next to Russia. It broke off in 1991. So they had been under Soviet control, but the propaganda that's going out is Russia bad, without anything being black and white. And the kids today don't understand what it was like to be under Soviet rule. And so these kids and people on the left in this country have become so uncivil with protest in the street against their own people, messing up all their historic buildings. They've been lobbying the United States Congress and European Parliament. And as an effect, all relations between the country of Georgia and the US and the EU were destroyed just because of the left. So when I was running for US Senate, someone from this country contacted me and I said, look, I'm really busy running for United States Senate seat. I don't really have time to look at the country of Georgia right now. Well, he kept contacting me, and I started to look into it. And I realized the money funneling into our US Congress in order to change the minds of members of Congress, to change the narrative in order to overthrow a conservative government, and all the money going there. So I became their conservative voice and the only conservative voice. And because of that, the people in that country say that I stopped a war between the country of Russia and the country of Georgia. And I'm so thankful to President Trump because he's cutting off the funding to, USAID and
Right.
everything else that's funneling these wars. And you have to understand there's thousands of people dying per day. And we've been funding this, and the propaganda machine has been in full effect. So my solution for Europe is break up the European Commission, which I have a plan for. Number two is to fund media big time. It would take at least $2 billion in media, which really isn't that much when you look at it. I think that probably Carrie Lake should be able to have shows that go across Europe as well. There's got to be a way to get media that's not cut off at all.
Okay.
And I am creating something that is really nothing that we've ever seen, and it's to counter the World Economic Forum. It's going to be a World Peace Summit in the country of Georgia yearly. And what we're going to do is have world leaders come together and sit at the table together and actually have dialogue. And we want resolutions and treaties coming out of this World Peace Summit. And we've never had any type of summit where we come out with treaties like this. We want to have treaties on trade as well. I think it's important to come together. But long term, there's no one to actually oversee treaties worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
This is what led to the Ukraine-Russia war as well. There were treaties that were not being followed by Ukraine. No one wants to talk about that. But the reality is, in 1991, when Soviet Union broke off into different, neighboring areas, the agreement was if an area was no longer sovereign, it would go back to Russia. Well, Ukraine still tried to take a region. They did not follow the Minsk agreements. And then the globalists heavily funded this war.
Yes.
And they keep pushing and pushing and pushing against Russia and towards Russia. And it really is a false narrative. I think during this Trump administration, you're going to see a shift in alliances globally, and we're going to be more aligned with Russia. And hopefully we can stop the propaganda machine in order to stop these wars. And I know President Trump will do that. So at this summit, we are going to have historic peace talks with all 33 Afghan tribes for the first time in history. Over the past
How are you going to do that?
You got to let me know what time I'm on.
How are you going to? Oh, you have what is that? 14 minutes. How are you going to do that? Get all of those tribes to come together to the table.
Yeah, so what's amazing is in January and February, I was able to meet with exiled Afghan leaders from the last government. A lot of them are exiled in Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Went there and met with them for extremely historic talks. And over the past 2.5 years, all of the tribes, except for the Taliban, have come together. And just to give you some detail, this is incredible what they've done over the past 2.5 years. They're called the Afghan Resistance for the Salvation of Afghanistan. There's 42 political organizations, 12 of them are women's groups, 57 civil society groups, 4 tribal councils, and really together 32 tribes. The Taliban is willing to meet with me and my Afghan friend who used to be an ambassador in Afghanistan. He is from Afghanistan. He left on good terms. And the goal is that we will have 2 days of peace talks at the World Peace Summit this fall in the country of Georgia with all 33 tribes for the first time, with the help from the United States. The country of Georgia has agreed to fully fund this World Peace Summit. We are inviting Vladimir Putin. President Trump is the main guest of honor. We're also we're inviting I say his name wrong, Xi Jinping. Did I do that okay?
Are you talking about the president of China? You talking about China?
Yeah, I'm talking about China.
Okay.
We want to invite the Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan. And we're working on a Latin America panel with the really cool Argentinian president. I mean, he's a cool dude, right?
Yes, he is.
Javier Milei. He's a cool dude. And then the El Salvadorian president, Nayib Bukele, and the opposition to Maduro. And that's going to allow them to come together to really discuss what has worked in Latin and South America. And we really need that because those parts of the world have been in really bad shape for a long time, and you see them getting cleaned up, and what happens down there has been hitting us at home,
With the USAID and that being shut down and the rest of it being swallowed up by the Department of Defense or Department of Justice. No, Defense, anyway, DOD. Will that money dry up so they won't go to war? They won't have any funds. No one is really backing them anymore. So sooner or later, that money is going to be, it's going to dry out. So they won't be able to go to war.
I hope so, but you'd be surprised. Countries like Norway have a lot of oil money, and they're using that oil money against Russia. And they're forming their own defense now in Europe because they're worried about the United States pulling out of NATO. The United States is the largest contributor to NATO. NATO was never supposed to move towards Russia, which they've been continually doing. And the European Commission, European Parliament, is hell-bent on their war with Russia, and they're doing it because they need the money. I don't think it's going to end well for Europe, but you'd be surprised how much money is coming out of these member nations in order to fund a lot of this, even without our money.
Okay.
I think we have to take a really good look at NATO. NATO is something that came out of Cold War. I think we need to look at how much money's going into it. It needs to be revised. And I'm pretty sure President Trump suggested that they step up and pay their fair share into their own defense. I don't know. I worry about our relationship with Europe, and that's why I think an envoy position like this is incredibly important.
Yes.
I would be the person they could come to if they have a problem. I met with them and I told them, I said, I'm going to carry a box of tissues around. You can cry on my shoulder when you get your tariff. And that's about all I can do. I can sit down and have a drink with you.
So when Trump actually hit them with this tariff, because right now, yesterday, it was saying it was going to be like a 90-day pause on tariffs if they want to come to the table. You think they're going to take that offer with President Trump so they can get that 90-day pause before they start really crying?
They've been flip-flopping. The European Commission has. At first, it was like, okay, 0-0 reciprocity. And then the other day, they acted like they were going to change that amount. My personal opinion is that Trump should deal directly with the member states. I know some member states are coming directly to Trump. I think that he needs to pretend like the European Commission doesn't exist. They are an enemy to the United States. They are an enemy to Europe. They are the ones destroying the world. This is the pit of the globalist, and it has to come to an end. As you've seen, we're not going to end this with elections because they're just arresting people. The way that the European Commission is controlling everyone is actually through tariffs and through money. So Hungary was supposed to get $1 billion block grant from Parliament. They pulled back that funding. I really don't think that there's a way to change this quick enough unless we do directly something the United States. And I have some ideas I just won't share on here.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? People are wondering, how do you get into the new Trump administration? I mean, it's been really difficult. And there are a lot of people that are contacting me. They're like,
they want to come. That's a lot of stress, you wonder. That is a lot of stress. Okay, what do they want? What type of position are they wanting in the Trump administration?
Well, I have a friend who wants to be the ambassador of Jordan. I have someone who wants to be in head of the North Korean human rights. I've got another friend who does anti-Semitism stuff. I've got someone who wants to be under Health and Human Services. And then I had someone else contact me yesterday about communications. But it's been really difficult. There's a presidential personnel office, and I'm just telling you this because I know people are interested and people want to be in the new Trump administration, and we only have it for 4 years.
Right.
There's a presidential personnel office, and we have some people in there that we know, and honestly, they are so overwhelmed with applications. There's hundreds of thousands of applications, and the Trump Vance, I think it was 4547 website was taken down pretty quick. And even the State Department, you can't put resumes in. So probably the only path that people can take right now is to contact an ambassador, someone who's in the cabinet, your member of Congress, and they can push it up through the line. And the other thing that I want to assure people of, the people in the country of Georgia are really concerned about the Trump administration because they've had to live under the Biden administration all these years. Relations became worse between that country and between the U.S. This region is a caucus region. It's really an entry from Europe over.
Okay.
So it's a really important region. It's been unstable for a long time. They finally have a stable government. I want to assure them that the State Department is still under a 90-day freeze. I'm in communication with the State Department. There are many opinions that are not available yet. There is still not a Trump opinion on Afghanistan or necessarily on the country of Georgia. In the departments, they have not even started to clean out or start to fire the Biden appointees. So
that's going to trip him up. That's going to keeping those moles on the inside is going to be detriment.
Well, they're gonna go. So all those people will be fired.
What do you feel about saying no to the UN? getting us out of the UN. What do you feel about that?
The UN is completely useless, and it's just a leg of the. I mean, they do nothing for human rights. That was something I was going to move into as well. Is after I work on this World Peace Summit for some years, and we get it going, and we get a good thing going to get rid of the World Economic Forum, so it replaces it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have a body that oversees treaties, and we have to have a body that oversees human rights. We have no one to oversee human rights globally. I mean, there are people being killed everywhere. There's people that can't practice their religion. I know President Trump is going to change a lot, but the international court is really useless. It doesn't do any good for human rights. The United Nations does nothing about human rights. So we have to take a step back and say, what are we going to do in order to fix all of this?
So even with you being the envoy in the envoy, and you go over to the EU or the European Union, yeah, I say that right, a
Yeah.
commission. So you think they're gonna listen and take some of your
Oh,
suggestions and different? You think
no,
so?
no, it's a hive. I've learned that European Parliament is a hive brain, and most of the members of Parliament are comfortable with their perks and their position, and they're protecting the hive. But what I can do is I can try to improve communication when they have a question, particularly for the conservative members who are being walked all over.
So
And
they
then I
sound
think the
like
US is going
Democrats.
to have to take steps to destroy the European Commission
So they
quickly,
sound like
swift steps.
yeah, it sound like Democrats.
Yes, yes. I mean, they're basically there, but yeah, it's bad. It's really
Mm-hmm.
bad over there. So no, it's I guess the what I've learned from this journey is that Europe's in bad shape. We're not going to fix this through European Parliament. We really need US intervention if we want to stop some of these horrible things in the
Mm.
world. And long term, we have to find solutions for human rights and overseeing treaties so we don't have these wars.
How
And we
can
need
we?
media.
And we need media. So with the media thing and getting the conservatives, because of how long they've had over there to change the whole mindset of the children, it's going to take a generation to straighten that out. Do you think?
I think about this every day, and I think probably bad things in my mind. Here's my question. It's going to be very controversial. Uh, all this programming came from the CIA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's using the CIA playbook. So if we program these people, can't we just program them again to follow us? Wouldn't that be the quickest thing to do? We reprogram them.
Well, what happens when Satan has a foothold?
I know. I think it is good against evil a lot, but I was definitely here for a pretty big calling. And I wanted to tell people that too. I've been knocked down so many times, and God has a plan for everybody. You just have to keep up and keep going and keep knocking down that door if it's your passion and your dream. You have to take all the hard, horrible times with it. And you have to keep fighting because God has really big plans for all of us. And
Amen.
when I ran for US Senate, I didn't expect for it to be a spiritual journey. And I actually had a Christian prophet that traveled with me during my journeys. And he said, Kim, he said, the US Senate seat is not big enough for you. And there's really bigger things out there. He said, you're going to be speaking to the nations. And he just had this huge list of things that I was supposed to be doing. But here I am. I'm speaking to the nations. I've been able to stop a war before I even had a title. And you just go out there and you just do it and you make a difference in the world. One person can make a huge difference in the world. So be that person. Make the change where you can. We have a lot of power. We just have to keep fighting every day against that evil and know it's not easy and you're not liked and it's a really hard road. But we're
Hey,
here and we're doing it.
and you're gonna keep on doing it too, because we got a minute and a half left. You was like in this 30 minutes. You did, but you got a lot. Think about it. Look, I got that page. You was
Okay.
like, and then I flipped it over and started writing on that page. So you
Good.
did a.
So our goal is to send all the Afghans home within a year and a half to have an inclusive, peaceful government. It's going to take help from the United States. Right after I met with the Afghans, the Iranians came immediately after I had those historic talks, and they said, "Don't work with the Americans." Well, I was the American. I was the token American. So that was kind of cool. But we're going to have huge changes. And if you have any questions about Europe and European politics, you can find me at www.kimberlylowe.com, because we covered a lot. I was in Russia this year. Russia contacted me because they knew that I had stopped a war between the country of Georgia and Russia. And I was the first person in the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C. in 5 years. They gave me a 3-year multi-entry visa. I was able to go to Russia, meet with a member of parliament on international relations, and we have to normalize relations with Russia and stop the propaganda. And it's going to take media to get this done.
Kimberly, one more time, that is KimberlyLowe.com. Y'all can find out a lot about her. When you get ready to go back overseas and then come back home, please come back on. Let's let them know I got an update. And then we're going to try to squeeze another 30 minutes in. You know, I wrote a lot.
Thank you. There was a lot to say. Thank you all.
And Dave said do a special segment of everything that you're doing over there, especially when you get back from your next trip. So thank you so much, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Everybody else, y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Go ahead, Dave. Welcome back to the Real News with Lucretia Hughes and Dave. Yeah, we've been out in the field for at least 2 days straight. So been a drill time, it is, and if I keep going in and out, it's allergies. It's allergies. So welcome back, everybody. That was Kimberly Lowe. Like I said, there's gonna be more interesting people like last night. Hey, Steve. Yep, he's still laughing, and Sue is too. So, y'all, do not forget this Saturday is the 12th, and we have our 14th rally, which is the Faith Over Fear, celebrating veterans and first responders. Like I said, got a list left to go get. Ooh, I forgot to put ice. Tomorrow, I'm going to get up, first thing, start on the food, prepping that, getting it seasoned really well on ice, getting all the grills prepped, getting all the tents, the rest of the tents up, getting all the merchandise out and wrapped up and ready to go. Like I said, if y'all are coming out this way, please do. Everybody is welcome. It is free. We're just asking for the food. It's like $10 a plate. We're doing that for the proceeds, so y'all can help that way, or you can just donate. And then don't forget to go over there to fallback usa2.myshopify.com, and you can look at all of our gear and merchandise. And just in case you come here, we don't have a shirt your size, please order from the store. Thank you, and welcome back. Somebody said now we see why the Democrats are hooping and hollering, but all because of tariffs. Yeah, I don't think we need NATO. I don't think we need to be in NATO anymore. I don't think the UN need to be on United States soil. But, you know, I'm pickified. I don't think that we needed to be in the World Economic Forum. I'm so appreciative of some of these organizations internationally that Donald Trump has either decreased the funding or completely took us out, or withdrew us out. Because, like I said, when I'm looking and thinking of the World Health Organization, when I'm thinking of the World Economic Forum, when I'm thinking of the UN and NATO, that's the biggest criminal organization. It's ran by the mafia. Human rights. how many human rights on a regular they trample on all over the world? We just take the whole continent of Africa, pick a country. Hey Trish, I'll see y'all all tomorrow. Headed to D Live. Why Trish? Hi. You can stay on Facebook. We're gonna keep Facebook up. Anytime we doing like you know.